Rico namora pobre.
Doko Roko is a hack-and-slash roguelike created by Eric Mack. The game started its creation September 2014, and it was released September 9th, 2022. Doko Roko is a game that was 8 years in the making. Oh, unslain, no matter how battered and bruised you are, you will still come to my tower. Here, let me fix you up. See you at the top. The character you control can only double jump and dash. This dash has a cooldown, but it also has iframes. You can change the order in which you do the movement options as well. The game will also allow you to slide on the walls and jump off them. But the main attractions come from the swords. You can obtain many different types of swords, with varying sizes, but you can only have 4 at a time. If a projectile comes your way, you are able to reflect it by attacking with the sword as well. All the weapons in the game have a certain amount of durability, barring the normal short sword, the one that you will start off with. The weapon sizes dictate how fast you can attack and how much damage it deals. As you traverse through the randomly generated levels, you may come across a red and blue chest. The blue chests have 100 essence, the red ones will carry a random weapon. The levels will also have 1 blacksmith and 1 vitality crystal vendor. You will also come across random NPCs with flavor text. In order to progress in the game, you need to defeat a certain amount of enemies so you can open the door. And within that door, you'll fight a boss. I originally saw Doko Roko on Twitter saying that it was going to be released the next day. The next day rolled around and, well, I bought it, installed it, and just, wow. Simply beautiful. Then I was greeted with my character going in one direction because of my controller. It was jarring, but I used my keyboard and mouse instead. After 2 rounds of getting my feet soaked with H2O, the 3rd round was where that H2O disappeared, and it slowly started becoming a mixture of calcium, chloride, citrate, fructose, glucose, lactic acid, magnesium, potassium, protein, sodium, urea, zinc. The substance became cum. Doko Roko pulled me in, and that's surprising considering not many single-player roguelikes can pull me in like that. You're probably thinking, so what's the deal with this game? The aesthetics, the atmosphere. That is what Doko Roko has on point. While I won't show all the levels, I can assure you that they all look amazing. The art direction, mixed with the calming music, makes an experience I didn't know I wanted until I bought this game. Soothing songs playing while I slay the beast beyond my understanding. It's hella fun. Not to mention, the 3D models of the swords go pretty well with the 2D pixel art. However, it's not only the most visible traits that matters. Think smaller. Inventory management and decision making. are a little bit deeper than a kiddie pool, but not an ocean you can drown in. Games, especially roguelike, all have this, I know, but hear me out. Doko Roko has depth with this simplicity. Remember the 4 weapons you can hold. Playing Doko Roko as a newbie, my choice making was really simple with weapons. Get big weapon and ranged weapons, no matter the size, it didn't matter. And that was it. It didn't extend past that. But in my first completed run of the game, my choice making was a lot more thought out. The size and attack speed, the elements, the durability, the next boss I fight, and when I got the weapon, all affected how I used the weapons. For example, if I get a small or medium weapon during the farming phase, I will use it right away, rather than using the large weapons, if I can help it. Although sometimes I might take a swipe with my larger swords to finish somebody off or eliminate enemies quicker, specific ones. I would value the different elements of the swords, like the lightning sword, because it can defeat groups of enemies really well. And then I save the big damage weapons, no matter what, even if I have to put one down, only to pick it up when I need it for the boss, thus meaning letting it sit. And that's okay, because when you drop a weapon, it doesn't disappear. Doko Roko doesn't have an ocean of builds and depth, but it doesn't just have a kiddie pool. I would say it's more similar to a pleasant lake. The presentation is a quality that this game knocks right out of the park, and the decision making and inventory management is pretty great too. But does the game have any other characteristics that make it stand out from the rest? Nah man, this is Eric Mack's first game. Have realistic expectations. Before going over what I think are flaws, I need to say this. The game is competent. That might be a bit stupid to say, but it must be said. I've only ever dealt with one type of bug that was game breaking. When my weapon broke, I couldn't attack anymore, regardless if I tried switching weapons. Visibility would be the biggest problem that Doko Roko has. Let's talk about the UI first. The cursor should be more visible. Letting the player customize the color, boldness of the lines, and shape could really help. The swords in the inventory don't look as good as they should, and I feel like that's because they don't really have a background to them, so you can't really see the sword model. Along with adding a background to the sword inventory, maybe you can consider having the weapon name appear above the character's head, so the player can know at all times what they're using and what they're switching to. The levels themselves are bright to say the least. Maybe you can tone down the brightness just a tad. And if we talk about the player character and the world, well, you can very easily get lost in the sauce. There should be a way to make that player character stand out from everything else. Improving on the visibility alone for Doko Roko can make it suitable for a larger audience. But besides that, I do have some smaller suggestions that you could fix or adjust, like the NPCs. As of this patch, NPCs do not do anything for the player besides give flavor text. Learning the story through NPCs is a great way to learn about the world without being told directly. However, I feel like they should do a little bit more to help, or even hinder you. If you find an NPC in a room, you should have a higher chance of finding both a red and blue chest. Or maybe they just straight up give it to you, for free or a small fee. Doesn't really matter. And then, about the hindering part, maybe you can have an NPC become a mini-boss that can be activated when talking to them, locking you inside the room and having to fight them right there. Of course, give a decent amount of space so you can fight them. For defeating them, you should get more essence for beating them, and possibly a weapon. And lastly, I didn't know where to put these 3 criticisms, but I'll just blurt them out. The character doesn't stop moving on a dime. Honestly, I think that should just be fixed. It's not a game based off momentum, so I don't think it really has a place here. I feel like the last level is too hard for not being full healed. And about deflecting and the short swords, you should probably make the short swords a tad bit longer. the hitbox should extend a little bit past the character model, so deflecting could be more of a viable strat. Please, consider fixing, well, as many as you can. It would be great for all of them to be fixed, but, you know, it's just my opinion. So, Eric, I read in your post-mortem document that you're gonna keep supporting the game for a little bit. Besides the fixes I talked about, I do have some suggestions that could make the game a little bit more interesting. How about you try giving the swords more utility? As it stands, the only non-damaging ways the swords can help the player is, well, the short swords being fast enough to reflect bullets. Adding other effects to the swords can increase replay value. And I mean, what if you had swords that could increase or decrease movement speed, give you longer dashes or short, more attack speed or less, beyond just having the length of the swords be the dictator, having a small amount of lifesteal, maybe even having a sword that can drain health at the cost of infinite durability. Screw it, even have dual wielding. The possibilities are endless, but that's only if you choose that path. And if you do consider doing that, also make sure you balance the game around it. I know that was a lot to take in, but that's all I needed to say about the game. I wanted to put as much effort into reviewing the game as he did making this game. Doko Roko is not perfect, but it's a neat game with a lot of passion put into it. But I only feel like it's a start. More can be done with it to make it a great, maybe even fantastic game. If this game interests you, give it a try. Give the man constructive criticism if you want. Help him polish the game. It's $9.99. You interested? Play it. But ultimately, that choice is yours. That's it from me. Peace. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. It would mean a lot if you did. And if you want updates on what I'm going to do next, please follow me on Twitter.